if you're growing a team, you need to recruit. The winners are the people who have not let their foot off the gas for recruiting no matter what.
Hello and welcome to episode 232 of the Smart Agents Podcast. As always, my name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. On today's episode, we are joined by Suneet Agarwal, CEO of California's #1 mega team, top real estate coach, and co-founder of Reside. Entering the real estate industry after careers in the mortgage and medical cannabis fields, Suneet was able to build his team to sell over $1 billion worth of real estate in just its 7th year. Throughout our conversation, Suneet shares how to handle the early challenges of leadership, tips for scaling a real estate team, and advice for recruiting top producing agents. But before we get on with the day's featured interview, if you or someone else on your team has an incredible story of real estate success or tips to share with our community, send us a message to feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new guests to inspire our listeners. And lastly, if you enjoy this conversation and want to hear more, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents Podcast. We stream on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. All right, let's get on with our conversation with Suneet Agarwal. Be sure to check out the episode descriptions for links to his website and social media channels. Really, the way I like to start everything out is if you could just introduce yourself to us a little bit. Tell the audience who you are and where you are joining us from.
Sure. My name is Suneet Agarwal. I'm from Sacramento, California. I've been licensed for just 11 years. And my 7th year in real estate, my team was the #1 mega team in the state of California. We sold well over $1 billion that year, a record I still hold. We'd been #1 in Sacramento that year and every year since for selling the most units. It's funny. We sold the most homes in the state of California, but I'm not the richest agent in California. So don't get that, don't get it twisted. And through that real estate success I had, I teamed up with my coach at the time and started coaching with John Cheplak. And then he and I started our consulting platform with 2 other partners. And now we have, nearly 60 teams all over North America that we're helping scale their business. So yeah, lots of fun stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm definitely eager to dive into, that conversation on scaling a business. But before we do that, tell me about what got you interested in real estate. How did you get your start?
Dude, this is a funny story. So after college, I kind of fell into the mortgage industry. I did very well by sheer luck and self-development by listening to sales tapes, right? And CDs, and Tony Robbins for mindset. In 2008, I got out of it and I got into the medical cannabis scene in California and really built something great in medical cannabis. And lobbied cities and got laws and ordinances passed. However, in 2012, just kind of decided to get out of that. Got a little hairy with the government, even though we were all licensed. Banking became hard, so I kind of just reset. And I thought I was going to consult for medical cannabis instead, but about 1.5 years later, man, like one of my good buddies and my mom said, "Suneet, like you got to do something." I was really just sitting around, and he said, "Why don't you become a realtor?" So I became one, and that first year I was rookie of the year for like West Coast Coldwell Banker. I was, well, I can do this, right? And then the next year I was, people have teams, I can do this. So I had only maybe sold 60 houses myself when I started a team, and by maybe a little bit of dumb luck and a lot of self-development and coaching, I was able to make it work.
So tell me, that first year, what were you doing to generate leads and to, hit that rookie of the year status?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I came to the office, and I went to the office every day. I barely had gas money, right? I went to the office every day. I would put on a dry clean shirt and slacks and dress shoes every day. That's what I thought I had to do. Right? My job before that was in medical cannabis. You think I ever wore a dress shirt unless I was going to like court, right? So I had to like reinvent myself and really dress up and play the part. And I drove my butt to the office, man, every single day. And no one I was maybe the youngest person in that office in my late 30s, right? 38, 37, 37. And no one in there made calls. No one in there prospected. They all had kind of their book of business. There's lots of grandparents in there, very successful, but it wasn't really like a prospecting atmosphere. So no one told me ever that I had a prospect. So they said prospecting was handing out business cards. So I had one of my buddies. I called him, and he had just re-entered the mortgage industry. I was like, dude, what are we going to do to get some leads in here? And he goes, well, I heard we can get them from Zillow. I said, well, I don't have any money. Do you? And he goes, well, I got a credit card. And I think he had like $200. So we put $200 on Zillow leads in the most challenged neighborhood in Sacramento, probably still to this day. And we got a couple leads, $50,000 leads, right? Like little houses. And that probably attributed for about 20% of my deals that first year. The other big portion of it, probably the other like 70%, was I went and did 3 open houses every weekend, Mike, like every single weekend. 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. I didn't have a bunch of signs. I had shadowed one other agent at an open house. And then I went to YouTube and found an open house script that made sense. And I just practiced it till I memorized it. And it wasn't anything magical. And then I intentionally went there and said it to every single person. Dude, here's the thing. I had no money. I did not have a backup plan. I did not have a spouse that worked. I had just lost everything. It needed to work. So I made it work.
Yeah. And I love hearing you talk about the open houses because I think that, open house, like that's such a great play. I mean, you're being hand delivered people that are interested in
real estate, market, yeah,
right. Like you're not going to get a better, crop of leads or crop of people that you're meeting, and I definitely think, especially if you're in your situation like you didn't have kids, you didn't have a spouse, you weren't, the weekends were open for you to be able to be that lead driving time. So I mean, take it and really pound it when you can.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. What, so as you started to get those leads, coming through the open houses, and things, tell me about, just, growing from that first year to, starting to see the deals come in and then it switching to, okay, now I think I'm ready to start my own team.
Yeah. So, about after being licensed for about 1.5 years and having also a very good second year, I went to Keller Williams. Right. And got introduced to the idea of business coaching, got introduced to the idea of prospecting. There's a Facebook group called Lab Coat Agents, and I would go and just creep in there and I would direct message everybody when I had a question. So my learning was really accelerated by diving all in. I remember my second year as realtor, I never heard a podcast before. Right. So someone told me what a podcast was, and I listened to Joshua Smith, get shit done. GSD, shout out to Joshua. I listened to Pat Hyben, Real Estate Rockstars, when he still ran it. And I just listened to every episode and spent my time in Lab Coat Agents and really just, I think, accelerated, right, to where then the idea of coaching presented itself. And I joined a coach. I became, I'd hired a coach. And within a couple months, starting a team, that was always the hot topic back then, about 10 years ago. Everyone wanted to. And honestly, my team leader at Keller Williams didn't think it was a good idea. And I was a little scared, maybe nervous. I was maybe nervous to ask her because I knew, they had all those personality tests and all that, which I failed. I forget what it was called, but I said, I have more business experience than most of these agents because I've run multiple businesses to this point. Went and got Commissions Inc. for $1,000. Spent $500 on leads that a lender helped me pay for. And started getting leads. I had never called PPC leads until I paid for Commissions Inc. Right? I had to figure out how to call them. Then all of a sudden, the agents around me, sitting near me, were like, I was somewhat mentoring them because here I was, a newer agent who was doing well. And I stood up one day at the end of 6 cubicles and said, "Hey, I'm starting a team. Who wants to be on it?" And everybody who was sitting by me said, "I do." So looks like we got a team.
That's awesome. So yeah, I was going to ask, if there was like a certain, mentor or coach that you kind of modeled you're playing off of, but it kind of seems like it happened organically pretty quickly.
Yeah, it happened organically. I did have a coach, which I modeled some off of. I also did spend a lot of time in lab coat agents, but I was just really just a big student, man. Like I was, I would, I think of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, right? Like I've had that book since I was 13. Not saying I've read it, that many times, but I've had it in my head since I was 13. And, I would make sure I was in the right rooms, make sure I was in the right environment, make sure that I would level up my rooms. And that just opened itself to more and more opportunities.
Yeah. And I really, talking about that, the eagerness to learn and the continued education, I think that's so important, in an industry where, regardless of if you're a team leader, you're brand new to it or whatever, it's, adding new skill sets and learning from other people and kind of growing the status of the room that you're in and always, trying to raise that next level is so important in this industry.
Oh, absolutely. I just came back from a mastermind last week, a digital marketing mastermind that I pay a lot of money to be in, where I'm the only one of 2 real estate people in there, right? But that's just to learn more things I can bring back to the clients, the consumers that work with our organization, and the consulting and coaching clients that come to me for advice.
So you stood up in the cubicle and asked everybody if they wanted to, who wanted to join your team. Tell me about, the early days of that team forming. Was there any, what were some of the challenges maybe that came with that, especially, with maybe some of the people that said, yeah, I want to join?
Well, the thing with leadership is you're always going to be a bad leader before you're a good leader. And in real estate, it's, the sales are in the independent contractor sales business. One of the ways that people get into leadership is by being a good salesperson. I don't necessarily think that being able to lead your client in sales translates to being able to lead a team of other independent contractors. I ran a mortgage branch when I was in mortgage. I ran the medical cannabis business that I had for 5 years. Like I'd already gotten a lot of the bad leadership stuff out of the way. And when leading a team of independent contractors, and this doesn't change for anybody, the challenges are going to be the same. Like, right? Like you can't make anybody do anything. You can't. If you're hiring salaried salespeople, well, you can, because you can lay them off. Right. But so the thing with leading independent salespeople that you can't tell to do anything, but there is a mission is really, that's where a lot of people have their initial challenge. That's where a lot of people have it's always in the people. The success is in the people and the problems are going to be in the people too. Right.
Right. Yeah. And, if you look at any, success, people that have had success in sports that maybe went into coaching or ownership or anything like that, I think, Michael Jordan's, the great example. Greatest basketball player of all time. Ownership hasn't exactly been his strong suit in that. And I think sometimes you get, I think it's hard to separate, what maybe, people just aren't driven the same way. They're just not wired the same way. And so projecting how you did something on on an employee or a team member doesn't always work out.
No, yeah. And people have their own goals and reasons and their why and what they're doing it. It's not yours. And that's okay. It's about finding what motivates that person and supporting them to get that for their reason, not because your friggin' team agreement says they have to sell 2 houses a month. Right. So that's the thing that I really learned that made a big difference in my business and everyone. I've done thousands of coaching calls with the top producing teams and brokerages in North America, and that's the biggest thing that can move the needle, and that people forget too, right? Is, why aren't they like me? Why don't they want this? Well, because they're not you, and they want something else, and that's okay. It's up to you to find out what that is.
Yeah. When it comes to, for what you found success in recruiting and what you're, teaching with your coaching program now with people when they're trying to scale up their businesses, what are some of your tips for recruiting, whether it's the top agents or, maybe some of the top admin people that are going to come in and really, button things up for your business?
Well, I think that it's two big differences.
Yeah.
Right? Like when we're hiring, why don't we start with the simpler one, and that's hiring great admin. Like, number one, if you want to scale your business, you need administrative support. If as soon as you can afford a part-time VA, get one. That's what I did, and then I got a better one. I just hired another VA on Monday. Like, I think we have like maybe 30 VAs now between the 3 to 4 different businesses. Some have been with me for 7 years, right? We also have in-house admin. So it's about having a rigorous job process. It's about having go into ChatGPT and have it write you an administrative support person test, and then give it to to your applicant, and then have ChatGPT grade the test. It works really damn well, right? It's another use case of the billions that we can think of. But like, we'll put an ad out for either a virtual assistant or somebody ops, maybe management here in Sacramento person, put it online. Have the applications have sticky questions in there and questions that make you think, and put little, make sure that you reply with this in the subject line, and make sure you add this video after you put this sentence. And that'll eliminate the people who just can't read and follow instructions from the beginning. And then we boil it down. So that's how we do the administrative. I think that people, there's great talent right under your nose.
Before we dive into our next topic, I have a question. Agents, are you ready to build instant trust with the sellers and buyers you meet? Well, with today's sponsor, Authorify, you can become a published author and gain instant credibility with potential clients. You'll easily win listings, and buyers will want you to represent them as their agent. Imagine handing somebody your book instead of a business card and watching them realize that you're the real deal and want to list with you. Even better, you can try this out for free because Authorify is giving you a free sample book so you can see exactly how it works. Simply go to authorify.com/sample to claim your free sample book now. I think when it comes to hiring really good VAs, it starts with you yourself understanding what is the job that you're trying to get done. It can't be a very broad, it's not a, I think that's a problem that some people, when they, maybe they're looking to offset some of their time sucks, the job description becomes really broad, and then they get frustrated when that person maybe fits like 2 of those things, but not the other 7.
Dude, that's so true. People say, I want a marketing person. They want the marketing person to be great in Canva, SEO, go high level, Facebook ads, Instagram posts, YouTube. You're asking for a unicorn. Right? The good news is you can put together a team overseas, but each person is specialized for about the same cost as the average person here in California.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't. So many times I've had, we want somebody that is a good graphics designer, but now all of a sudden we're going to hand them video projects that we want, looking like a Spielberg film. That's
exactly. It's not going to happen. It's not the skill set, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Transitioning from the VAs and the admin folks, talk to me about recruiting, high-level agents to your team.
So right off the bat, if you have a new team, you're probably going to start with a lot of newer agents. Right? That's just the reality. It's up to you to be the seasoned person and develop these agents that join your team. Even our team still now, like, there are more new agents than highly productive agents looking to make a switch, right? So the first part of really recruiting is having that irresistible offer, right? You can Dan Kennedy, Hermosi, whatever you want to look at, but you have to have a really good offer for someone to change the trajectory of their business and put faith in you. And it's important to understand is there's always a better deal out there. There's any one of my agents could go somewhere else and get a cheaper deal right now, right? Absolutely. So what makes sense to you? Would it work for you when you were in your avatar agent's shoes? And do you believe in it? In fact, you should be a zealot of your offer. You should have undeniable belief in how good it is. Because if you're not convinced, you're not going to be able to sell anybody. Right? And then you look at, all the different ways for you to meet people. It's interesting is we run reports, long-term studies, and show like who came from what source, who became productive and successful, and who did not, right? Who is still licensed. So the number one best source for you to get great agents in your organization is from people that you know and from people that your team knows. I think the Keller Williams, the LPTs, the EXPs, they've really nailed it by rewarding those conversations instead of having some big marketing bill to bring in bodies, right? So on a micro scale within your organization, maybe you do join LPT so you can offer some of that. However, like what else can you do? How about you just congratulate and recognize people and make them feel good, right? What if you have a recruiting referral contest where you send the winner to like a hotel in Lake Tahoe, which is what we always do, 2 hours away, right? Pay for the weekend, right? So the important thing is that to get the warm bodies, the warm referrals in there is everybody needs to know that you're looking to grow your business. I have a story about my aunt. I wrote about it on Facebook if anybody wants to look at it, but it's on there. So I just did it the other day and I always talk about it on stage. But like my aunt knows that I'm always looking to grow my team, right? The way the story goes, just real quick, is I was talking to my aunt and some agent circle prospected her, asking her if she wanted to sell her house. And my aunt said no, and if I did, my nephew's an agent. And the agent calling her, it was a female, said, she did the objection handler. Oh yeah, what's your nephew's name? She goes, well, it's Suneet Agarwal. And my aunt says there was a silent pause, and then she asked, do you know if he's hiring? And my aunt replied with this, oh, I don't mind because I know he's always hiring. Yeah. So if you're looking to grow, does your aunt know that you're looking to grow? Because everybody should. Right. So, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, just how important that is for your team members, the people that, that are working for you, that know that you're always looking to grow and that you are communicating that on a regular basis with them.
Yeah. I mean, number one, a great way to motivate somebody to work is by constantly prance their replacement right in front of them. Right. And number two, the more bodies on your team, the more signs in the yard. Right. So it's never about bringing somebody on is going to affect you in a negative way. No, it's going to mean more signs in the yard. So you're going to get more business. So it's important to keep that mindset.
Yeah. When you're working with teams around the country, what are some of your tips, or what are some of the things that you're doing to help them determine what their, irresistible offer is?
Oh, good question. Well, when they're a consulting client, I just give them my plan. But I think there has to be a reason that you believe people should want to work with you. Right. So what are some different things that people want? And I have a list, right? Like these are the things that people want. People want mentorship. People want support. And support can mean a lot of different things. Some of support can mean mentorship. Some of support can mean, can I call you at 10 p.m. when I can't figure out what to do on this contract. Some support may mean is there someone to print out my friggin' open house flyers, right? So it's important to understand what anybody talks to definition of support is, and for you to have an answer of that, right? Like think about all the ways that you as an agent would want support. Many people want marketing and branding. What's the difference? Does your brand and does your marketing bring in leads, right? Also, does your brand have name recognition in the market? Also, am I as an agent on your organization, what's the rules about branding myself? Right? So that's something else to think about. Something else that many agents want is office space. And hey, if you don't have office space, that's okay, right? But is there a title company where you can go do your meetings where people can drop in? Is there a lender? Can you go get an office from your brokerage if there is a brick and mortar in your market? Right? So some people think that they need that. Do they? No. But is there a place for people to go work? You have a couple of desks in your garage? Like, I don't know, right? Like, have some definition of, have some answer for office space. People want a tech stack. The great news is, you know, the better brokerages out there, you know, it's interesting. I just shut down my brokerage about a month ago, moved my team to LPT, but the better brokerages out there, the bigger ones, they have a pretty good tech stack that you can lean on. I've always gotten my own tech stack because I want to be in control of it no matter what I do. However, many agents want a tech stack, you know, and then there's leads, right? So do you have leads? What are your leads? Right? And I think, you know, most people will not start off saying that they want leads, but let's face it, we all want more opportunities. I mean, people, not we all, but people who work and have a desire to improve their financial means want more opportunities.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You know, when it comes to that support aspect of things, I think that's where, you know, you talked about earlier, you know, if you're wanting to grow a team, it's really, you know, that admin and the support members, you know, is having those people on staff that your agents can come, you know, lean on. I think that's so important to, you know, have in place as you're growing. But then also, you know, as the leader of a team and as it's growing and, you know, for your team in particular, you know, the mega team, how important is it for you, you know, as the leader to be visible and to be involved with people, you know, on the team?
I mean, if you're going to be a secret leader, then maybe it's not the right gig for you. And that's okay. You know, in my career, in my businesses, I've built up some pretty great leaders who can, I have a great sales manager, Anna Stender. I have a great ops manager, Nick Sievers. And, you know, they are very visible at the office and accessible all the time. You know, I'm accessible and I have a great relationship with the people that also show up. That's the magic. You got to show up.
Yeah. Yeah. When I think that, you know, to be a good leader of a large team is, you know, you can't be it just like as a solo agent out there, you know, you can't be answering the phone calls at all times for all of your clients. You're going to get burned out, or, you know, things are going to slip through the cracks because you have so much going on. But if you, you know, do kind of have certain standards of your communication to, you know, I think that's really important. Tell me a little bit more about the coaching business and, you know, what you do there and how that all got started.
Well, so, you know, building my team and being in that first coaching organization, they quickly brought me on as a coach too. So I got an early taste of coaching through that organization. I ended up leaving and, you know, not really sure if I wanted to coach. I wanted to focus on coaching my team and build it to what it was. And then that's when I hired John Cheplak. And, you know, John and I, it's funny, he just sent me a text. John and I were talking just a couple of years in. And at this point I was number one in California. So I had a lot of eyeballs. And with the business experience and the things I had done, he brought me up as a coach, and very quickly my calendar became really, really full. And I realized that it was giving me the same dopamine rush fulfillment as a new agent gets. Like, do you remember when, many of your listeners will resonate with this? When you're a new agent, probably, you sold a house to some people who really worked hard for their first house, and you met the family and you made their dreams came true. And when you gave them those keys, you felt good, right? And you want to chase more good feelings. At least I do. And then when you start a team and somebody comes to you as a first year agent, and then they make, their first $100,000 a year, and then they get married, and then they move out of their mom's house. They buy their first nicer car. They buy their first house. They buy their second house. They start having kids, and you get to see it all. Like, that feels great. Impacting people. That's fulfilling for me. And in coaching, it came into, here now is a business leader who is looking to me to get to the next level in their business. And when I'm able to take them to that, that also feels good. So for me, the fulfillment from coaching and inspiring and developing people, whether it's an agent or whether it's a team leader or a brokerage owner, that's ultimately fulfilling. And man, I found my thing. It's awesome. I pinch myself every day, dude. Like, I got it good.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's awesome that you're able to, change so many people's lives through so many different aspects of business and things that you've done, not only, those folks that you're helping, get their homes but, the people in your team that your real estate team that you're able to help grow and, build their businesses, but then now taking it to the next level and that next group of people, the people that want to build their own teams, and you're able, the whole trickle down effect on that. I mean, you really are touching a lot of different individuals throughout your career.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate, man. I'm very fortunate. Like I said, I pinched myself. I don't know what I did to deserve this. Maybe just kept showing up like when I was a brand new agent. Like, I still work every day, right? Like, yesterday I had like 12 coaching calls in a row, right? Like, I still put in the work.
Yeah. For somebody that's listening to this that wants to, get involved in coaching and wants to learn more about that, where can they find that?
Yeah, sure. So you can hit me up pretty much anywhere. Suneet Agarwal, SuneetAgarwal.com, Suneet_Agarwal on Instagram. If you're interested in the consulting portion of our business, the application process is pretty rigorous because we want great people there. But I mean, dude, we've brought on like 18 teams in the last like 3 weeks or something, 4 weeks. It's been crazy. You can go to resideplatform.com. Just FYI, as you're looking for Suneet Agarwal, there's me and there's a doctor at Harvard. So I definitely don't look like, I guess I could look like the doctor to some people looking, but it's not. There's a doctor and there's me. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, I want to ask you, what are some of the trends that you're seeing with, teams that are building, and what maybe you're finding people that are having the most success in these days?
What a good question. And it's all over the board. Like, if you're growing a team, you need to recruit. The winners are the people who have not let their foot off the gas for recruiting, no matter what. I hate when I hear, I just attract. I hate when I hear, well, I'm taking a break from recruiting right now. No, you want your agents to sell homes? You need to sell, and you want to sell more homes? Guess what? The fastest way to do that is by having more people in your organization, right? People say, oh, I want a Navy SEAL team. You need a Navy to have the Navy SEALs, bro. Right? Like, you just have to get that growth no matter what. John has a saying, KFR, keep F word recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, last question is, what are, at the time of recording this, we're at the beginning of, the year, what are some of your goals for this year, whether it's with your own team or with the coaching?
Yeah. I mean, I write down my goals every morning and look at them every single day, man. Maybe not on Sundays always, because I try and take my foot off the gas on Sundays to be a dad, which is the most important thing to me. More growth. I have certain specific numbers across every single business that I have, and I want to hit those numbers. And the way to do that is by talking to more people and impacting more people's lives. Whether it's a consumer looking for their first house, whether it's an agent wanting to change their trajectory of their business, or whether it's a team leader who's ready to scale and get some of their time back. I have goals for them all. Awesome. I just want to hit them all.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
Absolutely, Michael. This was fun, man. Thank you so much.
I really want to thank Suneet for joining us today and love his passion for continued education and coaching fellow real estate professionals to take their businesses to the next level. So once again, if you think you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or tips to share with our community, send us a message to feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.